Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Is it afternoon? Oh, God, no, it's still morning. Good morning, everybody.
Late, early morning, mid-early, late morning.
So Robin wanted to get in on the action. Show him the paper test.
Well, the paper test is over here.
So we have an old set of knives that we are actually passing on to a family member. This is a German set of knives. And this is,
They don't cut very well.
Yeah, they're really dull. I've used the heck out of them.
They actually tear more than cut.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Robin has bought a whetstone so that he can learn how to sharpen my shun knives, which are Japanese knives. And he's learning how to sharpen knives with these German knives. And so we just wanted to give you a quick demonstration. So tell us what you've learned so far.
Well, first of all, German knives are usually, the angle, the bevel on the cutting edge is usually about 22 degrees, and the Japanese knives are 16 degrees. So you have to estimate how much 16 degrees is and 22 for German. So 22 is probably in that range right there. There are a couple different ways to sharpen. There's the Japanese version, which is straight up the whetstone and back, putting a little pressure on the way up and releasing a little pressure on the way back. This is the Japanese version. The Western version is at about a 45-degree angle. And I think that I like the Western version better. Of course, I'm Western. So you set your knife at that angle that you want, and back and forth, pushing a little bit of pressure on the way up and releasing the pressure on the way back. This is a whetstone. It's a Shun whetstone. And if somebody from Shun is paying attention, I'm sorry if I say the name wrong. But this whetstone is two different grits. It's 1,000 grit and 6,000 grit. And of course you start with the 1,000 grit, which is coarser. And this whetstone has been soaked for about 25 minutes. You can soak it for 15 or 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. At least you can soak it for hours. But you should soak it thoroughly, which is probably going to be 15 minutes or more. And as you start to sharpen, you might get a little water and put it on here. And then you set your blade at the angle that you want. You can do the Japanese version or the Western version, about 22 degrees. And you just start, again, a little pressure going forward, in other words, coming against the blade, and release a little bit on the way back. And in theory, you're supposed to do this for about 10 or 15 minutes on each side.
Holy cow. That's a lot of...
Now this needs to be stable, by the way, so you can see I put a little cloth under a cookie pan, and this is the block. This is a wood block that holds the actual sharpening block, the whetstone itself. And you just want it to be so you can get away with pushing a little bit and it won't go forwards. You want to make it stable somehow you can. Those little rubber things that you put in your drawers might work well as well.
Okay, so we're getting a couple of questions here. Where do you buy a whetstone?
Well, I bought mine on the internet, and I bought a Shun, which is one of the better brands.
If you're uncertain about the angle of your knife and the blade angle, they actually sell a guide
A sharpening guide.
You can put on the edge of your blade, and it will give you the correct angle back and forth. Robin's going to show you.
The blade will go into here, and it'll hold it at the correct angle. I feel confident enough that I'm doing the correct angle that I'm going to go ahead and just do it by hand. I've done several blades already, and they have definitely gotten sharper. But this takes quite a while, and it takes quite a bit of patience, and it takes a lot of focus. Now, as you near the tip, by the way, you might have to raise up the back here, the handle, to get the tip at the correct angle. But it's important that you do the whole blade, of course. And I'm going to shorten this a little bit. So now we're going to go to the other side, a little more water. Now, if you can kind of see on this 1,000 grit that there's some color in there. There's, of course, the red color, the reddish color of the stone material grinding off. But there's also the more important material, the metal that's being worn off of the blade. That metal is mixing with that stone material. And that is what is actually sharpening your blade. And it's why you should do this for longer than just a minute or two, like I'm going to probably do. That will probably work sufficiently for our purposes today, but this is going to be metal, sharpening metal. And the blade is being ground off. When we use the 6,000 grit side, you'll see the grayish residue that you can see slightly in here with the correct angle. But that's what's actually sharpening the blade, is the metal of the blade mixing with the whetstone material and sharpening the blade. Just to shorten this up for everybody, we'll just turn this over now and do the other side.
You're making a mess in my kitchen, you know that, right?
Well, the mess is just part of the fun. So here's the 6,000 grit side.
Yes, a lot of organic markets do knife sharpening. I agree. But $5 a knife, my goodness, you can buy a whetstone and sharpen them when you need them.
Well, these whetstones are pretty expensive, actually, but a good one.
You can make your husband do something for you in the kitchen.
Yeah, yeah. Great fun.
Whetstones are not cheap, that's true. But this is, I mean, we're going to get a ton of use out of this whetstone. Yeah. And as much as I use my knives, you guys know that I am a huge proponent of having sharp knives in the kitchen. I think that it makes your handiwork with veggies and meats so much easier, and you'll actually cook more if you're not forced to use a dull knife. If you're ever sawing with your knife, and I'm not talking about like sawing through some tough chicken or something like that. I am talking about sawing through vegetables. If you're sawing through your vegetables, your knives are dull, and you need to do one of two things. You need to get them sharpened, or you need to consider a new knife. Now, you do not need a $100 chef's knife. There are $30 chef's knives that made by Victorinox that are amazing, that you can sharpen over and over and over again. So, yes, the electric, the people at Shun, when we talked to them about sharpening our knives, they said absolutely do not use a electric knife sharpener in with our Shun knives. Now, these are German Hinkle knives, a little bit different.
Let an expert take over, will you?
Okay, never mind.
All right, so a couple things, yeah. The electric knife sharpening systems typically are a little too abrasive, a little too aggressive for very fine knives.
Can you sharpen any kind of knife?
Yes, yeah.
Except
you can't sharpen serrated knives.
No serrated edges.
Yeah, unless you can sharpen one side of them if they're one-sided beveled, but otherwise if they're two sides, if both sides are beveled, you can't do that.
Lucille, have you ever taken the Sur La Table knife class? They have 1 and 2 knife class. I highly recommend that if you would like to learn some knife skills, that you take the Sur La Table knife skills class. It's amazing. Yep.
By the way, you can see the gray material on here now. That is metal. That is metal coming off of the blade, being released from the metal on the blade, and that is helping to sharpen the blade itself. A couple other cutting techniques that I've discovered over the years, and a lot of it just recently since we bought the better knives, is that you are supposed to actually use a sawing motion to cut. You're not supposed to just force a knife through. You are supposed to cut with a sawing motion.
Yeah, but I'm talking
But if you're having to work at it,
I'm talking about this kind of sawing.
If you're having to work at it, you've got a problem. So sharpen the knives. Now, having said sharpening the knives is good, on a good knife, even if you use it every day, you should be honing it once a week, maybe twice a week, with the hone that's supplied with the knife set.
Hey, Sally, that's interesting that you say this is not how you were taught in culinary school. Robin is using a Western method. Maybe you were taught a Japanese method, which is straight on the blade instead of at a 45-degree angle.
This is the Japanese method here.
And Robin's just learning too, by the way, guys. I mean, so let's just take the intimidation factor out of this. He's been studying this for a couple of weeks for me. After he bought my knives for me, he's been studying this for a couple of weeks. So let's be crystal clear that this is not something that he said he was an expert. That was a joke. That was actually a jab towards me. But that was a joke. But this is something that he, after studying, that he. Yes, they do sharpen knives, actually, there.
Yeah, you don't want to use diamonds on good knives either. A diamond cutting surface should not be used.
Sally says they were taught at a 45-degree angle, but to drive the knife, and never changing. Hold on, you're going to have to type that again, Sally. I missed it. I'm sorry. I remember my dad sharpening his fillet knife that he used to fillet fish. Yeah, you know those fish that you fillet? Those fish, he used to fillet fish that he had caught, and I remember him sharpening knives. It was really cool. It's kind of a manly thing. I mean, girls can do it too. But
it's a dude thing.
It is kind of a dude thing. All right, are we any sharper? Oh, go
Wow.
back there.
Yeah, look at that. It was only tearing this paper just 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And now it's, well, now it's slicing right through it.
I know, wowza.
Yeah, before that it was just tearing it.
Yeah.
And so that, and we should actually, this should be done longer than what I've done it.
Do you use the same pressure going forward as backwards?
As you go forwards into the blade, you should put a little pressure. Coming back, you release the pressure or relax your hands. So as you go forwards, you put a little pressure. Now, go forwards pressure, then just release it a little bit. Then pressure, release, pressure, release. You're grinding the blade in this direction. And that's the idea.
Can you show honing real quick?
I can.
Okay, now we're going to show you honing. Hey Lexi, it's good to see you. Hi everybody. By the way, I didn't get to say hello. So hello everybody. So hold on. We were taught to hold the blade one way down on the stone at that angle and never go back and forth. Oh, that is actually not. We were actually taught not to go just one way, but to go back and forth.
No, I think the technique would be back and forth.
She's actually in culinary school, so maybe it's just a different technique for different knives.
Maybe
Sally.
Different knives. That's true. Yeah, we're doing a German knife here.
Here, use this. Don't use the Shun one. Use the German one.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a sharpening hone.
This is what should happen.
Not sharpening.
This is not sharpening. This is honing. So as you use a blade, little pieces of metal.
Clarissa, I know I'm a tomboy too.
Yeah.
So I understand that. Okay.
I'm talking now.
I know. I have to answer questions. You have to give me a second.
So as you sharpen a blade, as you use a blade, little pieces of the blade, microscopic pieces of the blade, get deformed. That's just natural. Any material is going to deform. So a hone is not really for sharpening. A hone is to align the molecules of the blade again so that they're sharper. It's not a sharpening tool, though. It's not designed to be used as a sharpening tool. The whetstone is a sharpening tool. We have German blades here, so we want about a 22-degree angle. On a Shun blade, a Japanese blade, it's about a 16-degree angle. We're going to increase that angle a little bit for a German blade. And this is just a light pass, keeping the blade at the same angle all the way down. Not putting a lot of pressure.
Yes, I know, right?
22 degrees. And you're just drawing the blade across it. Switch directions here, get the other edge. And this is just a light pass. Probably several passes would be sufficient to hone the blade. And you'll notice if you have a light touch that as you're doing this, you feel less resistance. And that means the little molecules on the end of the blade, the cutting end of the blade, are being put back into position. This should be done every week, maybe twice a week, depending upon your usage. Sharpening with a whetstone maybe 2 or 3 times a year for a person who uses it all the time.
Pause for question. Lexi wants to know how much our knife set was. Lexi, I'm sorry my kitchen is such a mess.
Thousands.
Our Shun knife set, which is completely different. This is a Japanese knife. All right. Wow. Look at that. Watch this. Holy cow. That's sharp. Okay. Our Shun knife set, we have how many knives do we have? 4? We have 4 knives. That was right at $600, wasn't it?
I think maybe just less than that.
With the block, I think it was between $500 and $600. A nice Hinkle set like this. You can actually buy these Hinkles used on eBay. This is the brand Hinkle. You can buy these nice Hinkles. Maybe you want to screenshot that if I can ever get it to focus. Focus, baby, focus. Doesn't want to focus. Let me see if I can get it in the light. There we go. You can actually buy, this is an example of a knife that you cannot sharpen, by the way.
Well, if it has this side, you could probably do. You could probably sharpen this side.
Yeah.
But this side with the bevel, you can't.
This Hinkle set actually is a really good set. Hold on just a second.
It's a pretty good set of knives.
Yeah, this is a nice set of knives. I've been using it for many years. Let me get down here. There it is right there. That is the model number right there. And this is actually a really nice set of knives. I've used it for many, many years, and yep, I got it there. You can screenshot that. You can buy a nice set of used Hinkles like this, even sharpened, for probably about $150, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 knives in a block. Yes. I use the V like you have. I don't know what that means, but yeah, no, you can buy them used for that. So if you're on a budget, a good chef's knife like this by Hinkle, brand new in the store. This is really the only knife you need, quite frankly, is like an 8-inch. You can see how big it is there.
If you're going to buy one knife, that's
yeah,
the knife.
One knife. If you're going to just buy one knife in the store, this is the best knife. This is an 8-inch chef's knife. This is what I highly recommend for everybody. Go in a store that will let you hold the knives. It makes a huge difference. Some of you may like the blade heavy, and some of you may like the handle heavy. So when you hold a knife right in the center, you can tell, if you hold a knife like this, you can tell what's heavy on it. So, oh, the Victorinox. Okay, yeah, the Victorinox is great. But see how I'm holding that knife, how it is handle heavy? That's how I like my knives. I like the knives to actually be heavy in the handle and not in the blade.
That's better for a person without as much strength.
Yes, yeah. So there you go. You might like the blade a little heavier, and that's fine too, but you may like a really light knife. The new Shun knives that we have are super light. Compared to this Hinkle, it is super, super light. These knives are actually getting sharpened and going to my brother-in-law, who needs knives really, really bad.
Go in his new house.
Yeah, they're going to go in his new house. So, yes. So, a nice Shun, this Shun chef's knife, you can find them on sale occasionally for about $100. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. Yeah, that's right. Yes. So, there you go. So, this one you can see is definitely still handle heavy, but not as much as the Hinkle. Yes. So I just wanted to show you guys our quick toy that we have just acquired, and Robin is sharpening knives. He'll move on to, well, he doesn't need to sharpen the Shun knives. Those won't need to be sharpened for 6 months. But and I use them
we are honing them fairly regularly. Yeah,
you should hone your knives about once a week. So every 7 to 10 days, you should hone your knives. But sharpening, really, that's it. I mean, even as much as you guys know how much I use my knives, even doing that, every 6 months or so, we're sharpening knives. So, all right, so there's your knife lesson this morning. Now you know, no excuses. Now you know what to add to your Christmas list.
Just make sure you find out what angle your knife should be sharpened at.
Honing is this, using the honing spade, Lucille. Yeah. That he showed us just a minute ago. That's what honing is. That actually gets your blade back aligned so that it has it kind of removes the spurs, right, Robin?
Yes, it actually realigns the spurs.
Yeah, it realigns them so that you don't
get... the little projections that get in off the molecules of the blade. That just happen naturally. It doesn't matter whether you're cutting tomatoes or something more aggressive. But that is just going to realign the edge of the blade.
Yeah.
This is actually removing material.
Yeah.
And putting a new edge on it.
Yeah.
And this requires some focus and some time.
Yeah.
But if you're going to use your knives regularly, this is the way to go.
Okay, guys, you want to check it out next week. I am cooking in the kitchen. If you're a VIP, you already know what the menu in the kitchen is all week next week. So please, if you're not a Go-To Kitchens VIP, yes, there is an angle cheater. It's this thing right here.
That's for the Shuns.
This is for the Shun.
It's 16 degrees.
This is a 16 degrees cheater. I'm just repeating like they can't hear you. Oh my God. I think it would. Absolutely, Lucille. Yeah. Yeah, so Lucille, to get on the VIP list, all you need to do is just go to GoToKitchens.com. It says VIP access. GoToKitchens.com, Go2Kitchens, plural.com. It says VIP access. You sign up for that. You get a link back to you after you confirm your email address. You get a link back to you, and it will give you a link to a private Facebook page, and that's where all the VIPs hang out that watch me regularly and are Go-To Kitchens junkies. No, I'm just kidding. We're all Go-To Kitchens junkies. We love our kitchens. If you love your kitchen, go sign up and become a VIP.
If you don't love your kitchen, go there and learn to love your kitchen.
That's right. Absolutely. So thank you guys so much. Have an amazing Saturday. I'm actually going to go back into my office, and Robin's going to continue to sharpen knives. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. I will be back next week, noon Mountain Time, lunch with Leslie. I know you love, I know, it's Linda, right? It's not Sally, it's Linda. I keep saying Sally, but your name is Linda. I know that. So, all right, Sunday. All right, you guys have a good afternoon. Yes, okay, good, I remembered. All right, you guys have a good afternoon. Love ya, and I'll see you tomorrow, noon, lunch with Leslie.
I just want to point out that Edison did not bark.
Edison did not bark the entire scope. Oh my gosh. Hey, Jill, it's good to see you. Hey, Jill, I need to talk to you. We need to set up a time to blab, Jill. Everybody tell Jill that she needs to blab with Leslie. All right, talk to you guys later. Love ya.